I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. So come on.
Hello and welcome everybody once again to the UK Skype. I'm here as ever with Peter and Gwen, and Pierce is also in attendance. So I welcome you all, Duane and Ava and every person, and I shall pass the mic to Peter.
Hello everybody, nice to speak to you again. This week I've got two dreams I wanted to share with you, which I've had this week. One of them an unusually long one for me, because they're usually quite short ones, as you probably know by now. This one was a very long one, but I only remembered bits of it, so Morris, what I can tell you about it is really like a trailer to a film in a way. Basically, it's quite a remarkable film. It's quite a remarkable dream. Boiling it down, seem to have had not exactly a pet, but a friend really, of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, no less. A full-grown one at that, which is quite surprising. And although in the dream we seemed to be very pally to each other, there was no fear or anything involved. But it did seem to be able to change its size, because at different times it was in different locations, or it must have been smaller because it wouldn't have got in. The first one being in my mum and dad's house where I used to live before I was married, obviously, and it was in there. But then it was a very peculiar situation. I suddenly found myself with this great big thing, back to full size again, nuzzling its great face up against mine, almost as if it's trying to kiss me, which is rather alarming. Well, it would have been alarming, but in the dream I didn't seem to be worried. It seemed to be, in fact, some kind of empathy between us, or hesitate to say almost love. I hope it was a female one, I don't know. But anyway, and that was quite something, to see a full-blown Tyrannosaurus's face pushed against yours, its great big teeth hanging down. Could have quite easily swallowed me in one go if it had wanted to. Obviously didn't want to, so there we are. But the next thing I can remember was we were in the street, and for some reason it must have shrunk in size again, because at this time we were up in a tree together, hiding up in the branches, and there's all these kids down below in the street sort of looking up and shouting about. And one of the mouthy little devils, there's always one, isn't there, suddenly shouted out, "Oh, I don't believe in this, there's nothing up there." At which point the Tyrannosaurus sort of changed his opinion by promptly defecating on him. But then the next scene was in a big store. The most thing I can liken it to is on the one occasion I've been to America a few years ago. We went to New York and we went into Macy's. And I seem to remember, this is about 20 odd years ago, so memory may be playing tricks, but I seem to remember there was a very a sort of basement area. We went into a great big store area, and it very much reminded me of that. Well, it was crowded with people, of course, shopping. And I was aware of a tannoy message, some sort of laughably really, to the effect, I can't remember the actual words, but it's to the effect of, well, please, people, keep a lookout for the Tyrannosaurus that's wandering about. So somebody had obviously seen it. And then next thing was we seemed to be in the bedding department, because I was now trying to hide its head under a pillow, and I only seemed to have the head. Whether the rest of it was invisible, I don't know. But and then that was the end of the dream. So work that one out, if you will, please.
Well, you have strange friends, Peter.
Again.
I talk slower than you. You talk very fast, Peter. I would say you have strange friends, Peter.
Yeah, no, I'll say you can say that again. Yeah.
Yes, you have strange friends. Well, anyhow, so yes, it can go a couple different ways. It can be an attitude, or it can be somebody kind of helping you along that seems strange to the crowd, or, out of place or whatever, something like that, etc. So, as you keep looking at it, you'll start to see it, and you'll notice that you're with groups of people, etc., like in the basement. That's like ground floor here. And you're trying to hide him, okay? So just out of curiosity, when you're out there in the public, Do you share the new you with others openly or what?
I haven't done well, I have mentioned it to one person who didn't seem very convinced, so I let it go at that. But I haven't done so far. But I do the new you in myself in the car and what have you. But I've not really sort of discussed it at any length with anyone so far.
Yeah, well, there's the idea too. So it can be that also. In other words, you look at your attitude about that, and I understand. So we do it for ourselves, okay? But as we go out into the public, then many times we're rather reluctant to share that, etc. So I remember an experience Harry had in his early days with Paul, and Paul appeared to him. This is a story that the old Echoes would probably remember. Paul appeared to him on a street as a bum, as a homeless person, and then he grabbed on to Harry while he was crossing the street right in the middle of traffic and says, "Why are you embarrassed of me?" And so it took Harry a little while to figure that out, and he didn't recognize it was Paul at first. But you've got several situations going here. So I've had experiences like that too. And so again, they can go both ways. It's old attitudes, but then again, it can be a disguise there. So it can be one of the boys really radically disguising them, because when you're with them in a way, it's kind of shocking. It's kind of way out of the ordinary. So you look at how the story plays out, you see. But then again, it can be a personal attitude because you're trying to hide it and you don't want others to see it. So it just depends, you see.
Right, okay. I'm sorry if I speak too quickly. I think it's really probably nerves, actually. I'll try and slow down a bit.
Oh, no, just slow down, because you run your words together so fast. I can pick it up, most of it, but you just slow down a little bit and be calm. Just let go. There's nothing to be nervous about. So, yeah. But I've seen it in the past, too. It's many times personal issues that we're friendly with and we don't recognize, and etc. And I've had experiences where I see Godzilla in the distance, and Godzilla is representing the social consciousness, because the social consciousness is basically a monster devouring itself. So, but you'll figure it out. It's kind of along those lines. Yes, it's right there. Again, it's right in front of you. And are you seeing it? But see, as you come back here, you question it. But it's something right in front of you. So look at your own life, and then look at this, and look at the situations you go through. It's very subtle. See, this is part of your waking up and recognizing what you're doing all the time, what you're thinking, what you're chasing, all these things. Until you recognize your real awareness. And so we do this for lifetimes. We create this phenomena, and then we chase it, but we don't recognize it. You see, that's the difference. So there are some hints for you. You'll figure it out. There's always variables with these things. They can go either way because it's free will. See, and it's really determined by you. You determine you're having the experience. You determine it. Just like when you walk out of the house or anything you do in the house, you're always deciding every single moment. Things are happening outside, but you determine every step, every notion, every idea, where you're going, what you're doing. Again, we go through this dream until we start to recognize who we really are. You see.
Right, okay, thanks. Well, the second dream that I had, I was in this block of offices, there's about 3 or 4 floors of it, and I was in a stairwell, and fairly near the top of the building, and I was coming down from one floor to the next one, and I suddenly thought, oh, I haven't locked the door properly, so I went back up again and locked it. And I started coming down again, and then I suddenly got the strange urge to sort of lay down on the floor for some reason on my back, and I lay down on the floor and stared up at the roof, the ceiling, and I was aware that there was a big, like a big skylight, big open area, and I could see the sky through it. And this is really it, really. The sky seemed to be moonlit. It was obviously late afternoon, winter evening or something, because it was dark, but the clouds were all lit up by the moonlight. That was it, really. It's a bit of a letdown after the previous one, I know. But
Yeah, the dreams are kind of funny, but they display certain ideas. So when you walk down these steps or whatever to another floor, see, you were on the real side, so you walk down, and again, the idea would be just like in your house, you close the door so others don't get in. But then you went on the floor and you laid on your back, is what you said?
that's right, yeah, staring up at the ceiling, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, yeah. So again, that's where you're grounded. And see, when you lay on your back, like outside, and stare up, you see the sky. But lots of times, I remember this experience I had with Obama on the real side in this house, and his family, his so-called wife and his so-called 2 children. Well, they were on mattresses on their stomachs, kind of bouncing up and down, laughing and giggling. And I was sitting there on the floor, kind of on my back, etc., because that shows that you're grounded. Okay, that's what that means. And I made a little comment to them, and they didn't like it. But see, they were on their belly. So in other words, the idea when you see people like that, they're feeding their belly, because you see how, because he's a politician, whatever, they only care about themselves. But when you're on your back like that, see, you saw the sky, and through the skylight, in other words, through that personal self, you're starting to see that. But the real you came from, a higher position, a better position, you see, and then back down to the physical and grounded. So when you look up at the sky, you're seeing something, and the skylight pertains to that. You see, it's an opening in your personal self. When you're grounded, then you start to see, more, you might say. See?
Right, okay, yeah, fine, thanks. Right, this is not a dream now, Nick. This is an odd experience I had only the other day since I've last spoken to you. Driving to work, I started singing the new You out loud, as I do in the car I suppose there's nobody else about. And within about a minute or two, I passed the car, and believe it or not, the number plate on it, the last 3 letters were NUU. And to add to that, about 5 or 10 minutes further down the road, I went past another one which was DUU, and I was fascinated by this. I mean, it seems rather a coincidence, to say the least. But I sort of remembered the fact that over the years I've often sort of got messages or seeming messages from number plates on cars. I think you call them license plates in America, don't you? We call them number plates, but same thing. But and one in particular sticks out of my mind, and that was, it was about 20 years ago. I can tell by the actual designation of the number plate when they were issued about that time, about 20 years ago, because it was a D-Reg. And I had some problem. I can't even remember what the problem was. There was something I was trying to make my mind up which way to jump, kind of thing, was to do something or not to do something. And suddenly I was driving, and I found myself behind a car, and the number plate, unbelievably, was D and then three numbers, ONT. In other words, don't. So I didn't. I don't know what it was, but I didn't do it, and it turned out to be the right thing. I mean, is this not a common thing to get messages from number plates on cars, or is it just me being a bit potty?
Well, again, it's how you pay attention. So, everything's around us all the time. This is what creation is about. All creation refers to the isnness life as. So, again, most people with their literal minds will just think, oh, okay, well, whatever, or they don't pay attention. I know what you're saying. I used to watch license plates a lot when I was driving a car. Well, I ride my bike now, and They usually whiz by pretty fast, so once in a while I'll look at one, but it's kind of not the same anymore as it was. But yes, I used to watch them all the time, and especially the sides of trucks, and especially here we have the mail trucks that deliver the mail, the smaller ones, but then you have a bigger one. And the bigger one on the side says, "We deliver for you." And I'd always recognize that as the boys just, appearing. These trucks would appear at particular times. I remember probably 40 years ago when I was driving on an appointment with my business down in South County here. And, those license plates that you're seeing, those are one of a particular, unless they're using those. But we have personalized plates here. And so one of them that I saw was, and this would be the only one around because in the whole state of California, and it said free band. And so, I used to watch those myself. But you're seeing the new and the do. That's my name, DU. It's interesting. So the boys you decide, you see. But they can change the plates too. They will do that. I've seen that. They will do funny things. But all of a sudden you're there at that particular moment. So I see them set certain things up to where just at the right time it appears, because they see that you're paying attention, you see. And that's really what it's all about, is as you pay attention, you get these little signals from time to time. Yes, I see them all the time because for the most part, I pay attention. And, sometimes you're looking at other things, but most of the time I try and look at the sky and the sun. That's what I do. But, they, within yourself, it's very subtle, that it points to your real awareness is what it does. And so as you're going through your process here to recognize your real awareness, you're going to have these little signs. You see, and like the one you saw that said "don't," you recognize that, and you took the risk and moved forward, and it happened to be so. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll keep on looking at them in that case. Just one other thing wanted to discuss today. I was saying last week that I was reading this book by Graham Hancock about when he's discussing these ancient cave paintings, and his idea was, I don't think it's just his idea, but he was going on about the fact that they would seem to depict things that people see out of the body or in under the influence of these drugs like LSD and magic mushrooms and all the rest of it, but also under sort of trance dancing, which a lot of these apparently depicted, and it covers things like there were strange sort of hybrid animals, but also geometric patterns that are repeated all over the world. It's rather like the pyramids that are all over the world in countries that couldn't possibly have had any contact with each other in the normal way at the time they were done. It's the same with these cave paintings, and these are recurrent motifs that keep coming up. And one that struck me in particular, though, was the point I'm trying to get to, rather going around the houses, is a zigzag is very common apparently, and in other words, people see these things when they're sort of under the influence of trance and not in the body. The thing is, I keep getting these zigzags in the normal course of things. I've been to competitions about it more than once. Well, certainly once, to see what's wrong, and they say there's nothing wrong. Get people to see all sorts of things because you get these things loose in your eyeballs and whatnot, scales floating about. But I can't see how they can make zigzag patterns. But there we are. That's what I was told. But I just wonder if there's any significance to that. Am I in some way, when that happens, sort of on the verge of sort of going into another state of being, or is it just old age coming in?
Well, again, you have to see that these things are in creation. And so are you talking about, you said trance, and then on some kind of drugs or something too? Did you say that too?
Well, no, I'm not on any kind of drugs, or hopefully in a
No,
trance.
not you, Keith.
But,
I'm saying just that, when people are on drugs or LSD or something, they do see certain things. You're saying?
no, what he's saying in the book is that
Oh,
these,
okay. Go ahead.
sorry, these cave paintings depict things that people also see, including the author himself, who's tried these. There's a plant called a huasca or some such thing. Yeah, whatever. And apparently he's tried this, and he's been there, kind of thing, so he knows what he's talking about. And these shapes and geometrical patterns are sort of common nowadays, as well as they obviously were sort of thousands of years ago when these guys painted the pictures on the cave walls. But it's not only through drugs; it's also he describes in one case how well, I think 100 years ago, some explorer in Africa described in great detail a situation where he with his African tribe who would carry on some tradition that went back thousands of years, and they basically formed a great circle. There was two circles, one of the women, and then outside it were the men, and they went into this state of absolute frenzy, singing and drumming and dancing frantically for hour after hour, in fact as much as 24 hours. And at the end of it, or sort of imagine during the course of it, a lot of them went into the trance state, and these are the things they reported seeing.
Yeah, no, I get it. There's many ways to do this, and there's a book called The Teachings of Don Juan, and it starts off, and I read that book over 40 years ago. Some of the Don Juan books, and they start off with the magic mushrooms, which are down south there. In Mexico and places like that, Oaxaca, etc. And yeah, these are areas basically in the astral worlds where you see all kinds of things in creation, and like he's talking about different forms and zigzags and whatever, etc. You have to see how creation is formed. In other words, somebody created something somewhere, and everybody keeps creating something, so it all relates to whatever. But it's not necessarily that these things have a meaning. People are just seeing these things. They see them here, or they see them in the other worlds before they come here. These are creations. And so this is where eventually today we get all these ideas of mysticism and spiritual paths and religion and, all the things that are involved, because what they've done is they've accumulated all these creations. And as people keep experiencing them, they become like tradition, etc. So what he's talking about, I see what you're saying. What he's talking about, see, it doesn't really correspond with so much the daily life of what everybody's doing here, because this is a particular dimension, all right? And so all of a sudden, he's writing about all these other things that he's experiencing, etc. And many people think they take LSD and they've got what they term as God realization, etc. They see all these things, or they go somewhere, or they astral project, or whatever. Again, this is just in creation, and anything can be created in creation, understandably. So, for the longest time, as we go through creation, we see the phenomena and the appearance of it. That's what we see. We don't really understand what's going on. We just kind of go through the phenomenon experience, just like you take your 5-year-old child to the market or the store or the mall or to Disneyland. He's just taking it all in, looking. It's like, wow, wow, wow. It's just, you're first having the experience of all this phenomena until the point comes where you recognize what's taking place in creation, and eventually your real awareness. So again, there's many books on this, because people, they do astral projection, they take drugs, they go into trances, etc. Like Edgar Cayce. I used to read Edgar Cayce, and he went into trances and he brought back things from the real side, parts of the real side, that help people in their healing, etc. So there's many ways to do this correspondingly, but you'll notice that a reference to, and they wouldn't call it that anyhow, they may call it something else, some level or something, to the real universes and the real individual, through creation, getting to that point. Because for the most part, we're in the body worlds and we keep referring to the body worlds only. And that basically is what keeps you in the body worlds, because that's just your only reference until you have a real reference, which is the real you and the real universes. So right now you have that knowledge, okay? And so it's how you build upon that knowledge. But in the meantime, there's all kinds of books out there that talk about these things. And again, if you see a zigzag pattern and you're going through it, like in the movies, all these far out things that, that individuals go through, like the movie Doctor Strange, where they're running on the side of buildings and what have you, etc. And that's really all they're doing. That has nothing to do with the individual's real awareness. They're just going through whatever they're going through, whatever adventure, being chased or chasing others or doing something. So the patterns in that you see, those are all a creation. They've just been created of a particular. And the boys on a real side experience for yourself, they will create certain situations just like your parents would for you, do certain things for you to educate you in a particular way. The Indians did this too, but they used the natural environment as their demonstration, you see. And today we don't have a lot of that. Yes, there is that still, and in movies and things like that. But today it's a little bit different because we have all these created things around us. And so our experience on the real side is going to be a little bit different. But when you go into the astral worlds, it's endless. It's just endless phenomena that's going to occur, just like Alice in Wonderland. It just depends upon how far down the rabbit hole you want to go, but it just keeps going and going and going. And it seems like you're getting somewhere, but eventually you realize that you're nowhere. You're just in some type of phenomena that you keep agreeing to. So, but you decide, that's a reference that you can use. For me, it would be a reference as to what I don't need. Okay, because then eventually you recognize as you go through life, you recognize the things that you don't need, that don't have value according to what makes sense, what is a benefit and what is real. But each individual sorts that out. But a lot of people get caught in these phenomena and they love it. Especially today with all the stuff that's going on. Everybody, they want their hair purple or orange, or they, change themselves or whatever. This becomes a big deal with their personal self. They chase these ideas within their personal self, thinking in their mind that this makes a difference about something. But again, it's just rearranging something in creation. And for the most part, they stay stuck in it. But, our position is to show people how to get unstuck, young man. So you'll figure it out. Was there anything else with that? Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Thanks. Well, it's just one thing I wanted to say before saying goodbye for this week, and that is listening to Kevin's recording of last week's show, if that's the word. I think I was a bit rude to you unintentionally, in as much as you did say at one point you didn't know what I did, and I didn't take you up on that. Basically, I've just got my own one-man accountancy practice in a neighbouring town down the A5, of the A5. That's the old Roman Watling Street, if anybody's interested in that. But and Dunstable's a small town down the road. It's got two claims for fame, really. One that Henry VIII got his divorce from Catherine of Aragon in the Priory Church, and the other one is that Gary Cooper went to Dunstable Grammar School. So I'll give you one guess as to which is the most thing that gives Dunstabilians the greatest pride. Yeah, it's Gary Cooper going to Dunstable Grammar School.
I'm talking to you.